Exactly.
Tell them what love.
Man, no, tell us about yourself.
Greet your
Worse, bro.
Greet your neighbor, Jamari.
Where do you start with? Tell us about yourself.
And I go with my name. My name is Valentine.
Do I speak about the crippling addictions? I'm an alcoholic.
I lead with those. I lead with those. Like I got a bunch of addictions. And that makes the person pull back, and I know that conversation is going to be short.
you make it so open. It's like,
But
my name is Valentine. I've been trying to get off coke for the past 4 years.
That actually is not a lie in the grand scheme of things. What's that? I don't know where to start because I just lost my whole train of thought.
You said you're gonna start making
Right.
I don't even know what show I'm on.
Wow, this is embarrassing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Technical, which is where we talk about all things technical, tech adjacent. So last episode was a conversation about safe technologies. What was it again?
Yeah, it was safe.
Oh, the RF
television.
TV. RF TV. So basically, this dude decided he's going to create a radio frequency powered TV.
Okay.
I can see by your eyes, you're like, nah, can't be possible.
I'm like, okay, tell me more.
So we saw the TV, right? And there was no demo video to see if it actually works. So it was something we did yesterday. Well, in the context of today, it's yesterday. So it was last episode. It brought a lot of, what can I say, contentious debate amongst the techs and faithful.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, some people believed in him. He's Zimbabwe's Elon Musk. Other people didn't. They were like, nah, it's skeptical. How have you not seen a demo? He's changed the world.
Yeah.
With his Nobel laureate. So please listen to that one. We spent 40 minutes of it, 40 hard minutes of research, our days of research. I'm joking. It was a conversation the night before and we decided just to press record. But yeah, it's really interesting to see what Zimbabweans are doing out there. And I'm Valentine, by the way. You know my voice by now. I'm joined by someone who I'm going to let introduce themselves because I'm stopping the process of making guests redundant.
Yeah, thank you.
They can speak for themselves.
Yes. So I'm Takudzwa Shamhu or Takudzwa Shamhu. I'm coming on this show as a developer. But obviously I'm much more than that, but I'll try to scope it to like that aspect of my life because I think that's the most interesting.
Why are you limiting us? We want to know all about you, man.
Okay, I'll try to be a bit more diverse. But I think this is like the most interesting part and probably like the most useful stuff that I can share.
Okay.
Also, I'm hoping my experiences can also help someone out there or inspire some people, especially a lot of Zimbabweans, because I see like the Zimbabwean tech space is a bit leaves something to be desired. But yeah, I'm coming on the show as a developer and also as a human being, so I also have like a very human side. So I'll tell you about my pets, my hobbies and all that fun stuff.
So you're a remote dev, or you're a dev who's remotely in Zimbabwe because you said I'm son of the soil, which really doesn't make sense. Once you've made it out, don't come back.
Yes, that is the theory of it. That is it.
But you are breaking the theory. You're literally back in a country that, if the last, like, I have this joke, a friend of mine told this joke. He's like, Zimbabwe is a country where we should all just leave and the last person out just light a match and close the door. Because it's a dumpster fire. While we're there, we might as well make it a proper dumpster fire.
I wouldn't want to go on record saying that, but I will say.
Man wants to go back on a plane.
Yeah. But I will say I like it here. I mean, okay, it's great having like exposure, like external exposure, international exposure. But I think like culturally, I'm still very Zimbabwean. I resonate a lot more with the lifestyle that's here.
Yeah.
And it's also just like the life that I'm used to. Just waking up and just looking around and see yourself in the next person and not like realize that you're different or you're like from a different culture or you like different music or you like different food. Just being like part of the community. I think that's the biggest reason why I'm here still, accompanied with other things. Yeah.
So let's get into the dev work.
Yeah.
How does a developer who was born in Zimbabwe end up in one of the most progressive European or progressive countries in the world? Because we hear about, the Scandinavian countries and that their model is so very different from what the rest of the world is. You've been watching the news. America is just resisting moving towards what they call democratic socialism.
Exactly.
So how does someone from Zimbabwe make it out to a part of the world that is one, cold, because most Zimbabweans don't like the cold,
Yeah.
and two, super progressive, and how was the adjustment to the entire process?
Oh, that's a very dense question. Yeah, I don't know if there's like a process to this, but I'll just give you like my own personal experience.
So we're for.
Yeah. So yeah, it was not easy. So I didn't start off like I started off working here. I think I worked in Zimbabwe for about 4 years at two different companies, which I loved, and they set this foundation and the groundwork for me to be able to be valuable internationally and to be able to like bring something to the table. Like when I walk into those interviews, I have something to say which like these external recruiters can actually design. Um, so yes, I think me having worked here was like very, very fundamental in accruing those years of experience, just acquiring some skill that I'm able to like sell and market. Um, there's a lot of other avenues. A lot of people go abroad for studies' sake, which is also like a very viable path. But I didn't want to take that one because I didn't want to be living abroad on a student's budget.
That anxiety, man.
Yeah.
No, because my budget was $50 a month.
Exactly.
And you can never stitch $50 a month trying to have fun. Trying to study.
Yeah.
And all your friends are getting, very, very envious stipends.
Yeah.
Like guys are getting $400, $500 a month. And here you are knowing that if you spend half of this, it's noodles until the month ends.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so fun little story. I did live on a student budget for like my first month before I had gotten my first salary.
Okay.
And like coming from an African salary and then going to like one of these really first world countries where like everything is super expensive. Like everything on average is like 6 times the cost. And I remember leaving Zimbabwe with like $90 to my name. My brother was supposed to send me more money, but then there was problems with like between the African and the European banking system. So I had to somehow make do with like $90 to my name. And then I get to this airport. And me being oblivious, coming from Zimbabwe, there are no trains, there are no metros, there are just combis or taxis. So the first thing that comes to my mind is like, I need to get a taxi. That is the only way I'm going to get to my home. And mind you, I know absolutely nothing about this country. So then I just get a taxi cab and I'm like, sir, can you please take me to this address? And then the cab driver's like, sure. And then I walk over to the driver's seat that I'm used to. So I pull the door open and I'm thinking it's the passenger side, and I pull the door open and then I see the steering is on there and the guy's like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah. And I had to correct myself. And it was just like so these little things, they just like require like a change of mindset, because there are a lot of these little differences. But anyway, I get to the destination and the guy charged, I think it was like $33 equivalent. And I had like 90 for the whole month. And then he was like, all right, I'll give you a $3 discount. You just pay me 30. Welcome to Denmark. So then so the guy drops me off and I'm like $60 left to my name. And that whole month it was like frozen noodles on a daily basis, my man.
Damn. I feel the pain, man.
But it was an experience because like this whole thing where the cars are on the other side of the road, like you instead of pushing the doors, you pull them open. Instead of like twisting to the right when you open a tap, it's twisting to the left. Like these very little minute differences, they were just like so surreal to me and just made it so foreign and so, like a really magical experience.
I can call it magical, man. It sounds like suffering. Because I've been in Europe as well and trying to get my head around the way people do things there is really weird. The whole driving on the wrong side of the road, which I believe the Queen side is the right side of the road.
Okay. Which Queen though?
Queen of England.
Okay.
Oh yeah, because Denmark has royalty.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
it is a monarch.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Her Majesty.
Oh, me.
Her Majesty. The Queen of England.
Yeah, okay.
That side of the road. It makes more sense than the other side. I know most of the world uses the wrong side of the road. And it's down on us to kind of change. But the plugs particularly, if you don't bring adapters are like a real cheat code out there.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that was one of the early struggles that I had, just like trying to plug in my laptop.
And you realize the one thing you came here for.
And I had like this square plug and it doesn't fit into like the 2-prong one they use in the most of Europe. So there was a lot of these little experiences which just made it like so foreign to me.
So how did you get into development? You said you studied here, right?
Yes. So I started. I think for as long as I remember, since I was probably in primary school, I had a huge fascination for like computers and mostly games. Um, and I was like deeply fascinated, and I actually wanted to go into this space and build something of my own. Um, so then, like all the career choices that I took were to just like set me up to become a developer, to either make games or being in the gaming tech space. Um, so the school that I went to, Mazowe High, back in the day, they had they had like limited places for computer. It was called computer studies. So I think half of the class needed to choose computer studies and the other half needed to choose agriculture. And I was not having agriculture. So they did like a raffle in the class where they just like drew up tiny little pieces of paper. Half of them said agriculture, half of them said computer studies. And then I dipped my hand inside this like raffle box, and then I pull out this paper, I read it, it says agriculture. And I know deep down in my heart, like there is no way I'm gonna have agriculture. It's just not my passion. I just don't want to do this. So I think I spent like a good month just dodging the agriculture, the teacher who taught agriculture at the time. And he knew that I was supposed to be one of his students, but I was dodging, and then I would run to like the computer studies class. And then the teacher there would be like, "You're not supposed to be here." And then I'll be like, but say I really want to be here. And then I'd go in there anyway. Sometimes he wouldn't do like a register call, so you wouldn't notice that I'm in there, but sometimes he would, and then he'd notice, and then he'd be like, "No, you can't be here, you need to be in the other class." And then I'll just like leave the class, and then that whole period of nothing to do, I'm suddenly not going to agriculture.
Yeah.
So I like run-ins with like the teachers for like a month until I had to like take the issue to my parents, and then they helped me like switch classes. But I'm really glad for this experience, because maybe if I hadn't done this, I would have been on a very different path. So anyway, study computer science, and then after that, like senior high school, I did something else which was totally unrelated to computers, because the school that I went to just didn't offer computers. But I was just like, still I'll just do it. But deep down, still I knew that this is the path that I want to stay on. So after senior high school, or A level we call it, I went to University, and then I started computer science. It was intense, I gotta say. It was very intense. We had a lot of dropouts. I think we had probably like 60% dropouts.
Yeah.
But somehow I made it until I graduated. And like during the course of the studies, it was intense, but it was also very lukewarm, like diverse, but like not going deep into any one of like the sectors of computing. Whether it's like neural nets or programming or networking. We like covered all of these subjects, but never really went deep into one. So it was really up to us to like choose what you want to specialize in. I saw that a lot of my classmates were choosing like networking route for some bizarre reason that I don't know why. But then I just decided, you know what, I want to do something else. I don't want to do networking because it looks like it's pretty flooded whilst we're here in college. I wonder what it's like out there. So then I decided to specialize in like programming. So I just like went hard at it, started studying programming. I did .NET at the time. In C#. I really went to town with it. I studied this thing hard, and I actually started to garner like a reputation for myself. When we did the school projects, people would be like, "Yo, can you just write this piece of code for me?" And then I'll just do it. I was just like, I guess I'm pretty good. Yeah. But then I think that was like the time where I really started taking programming seriously. And then after college, graduated, and then I started working. That's when I had my first job at a company called Telecontract, or Telco. That's what it trades as.
Telco, the internet company, or Telco?
Telco, the internet company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Telco was also a trip. It was a very, very beneficial experience. I think it was like my first real job outside of college. And when they hired me, I was the only developer at the company.
How did that feel though? Because I feel like you're carrying a lot of water, like a lot of people's water. Like you were the whipping boy, basically.
Yes, and there was like really so there was really no scene. Okay, they were like very knowledgeable people, but there was no dedicated senior mentor developer to mentor me into like molding my career and like just getting me more structured and more like industry ready. I was hoping like this was my first job. I was hoping like this would be it. This would be the opportunity. Um, yeah, but I was the only developer, so I kind of like had to make do and kind of like try to create standards of my own. Try to fix some of the existing code, the legacy code that was already existing, which ran like the tons and tons of infrastructure that they had. But also at the same time, I was creating my own standard. It was great for a while, but then I just started yearning to just like being mentored and like having like someone else's second opinion, someone who's more senior, someone who can like really mold me and form me into like a better, well-rounded developer. But the company itself was great. I think it was one of the more progressive companies. If I look like in the tech space in Zimbabwe in general.
Wait, which year was this?
This was in 2015, 2016. Yeah, I was there.
So the internal structure, the company culture was progressive, or the business itself was progressive.
The business itself was progressive.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about company culture, I mean, I'm coming from Denmark. I've seen like really progressive companies. Yeah. And I think Zimbabwe in general we're like really lagging behind.
Oh, we are. That's a conversation for another day. But one thing I was told is Zimbabwean PR is probably the worst in the world. I mean, public representatives or customer service.
Yes.
Were kind of really behind. A friend from Canada was saying, I was talking to a customer services company. He didn't mention the name, and it was like I felt like I knew more than they did about something that I really shouldn't be aware of.
Yeah.
And I was getting cycled through.
Yeah.
Like just weird cycles. But story for another day. So
but I can because I was like when I started off with this company, I was sitting with like the support people, and sometimes they'll be like college attaches. Okay, they know, but they're not you. Like you probably know more than them.
Hard to believe, but okay.
Really, it's true. So I'm not surprised that sometimes they're like really big tech kids out there who it's not surprising that you could be more knowledgeable than the person who's doing a customer service. Because
So how did you get from Telco to Denmark? Because that is still I'm still trying to work the maths in my head.
So after Telco, I joined this. That was my first remote job. Then I joined a South African company, but I was like fully remote working here from.
When was it? 2016, 2017?
This was like 2017.
So you're pre-COVID remote workers.
Yes.
We have one, guys. We finally have one.
Yeah.
Nice. So how was working remote before remote work became a thing?
It was very exciting. I was super stoked to have a remote role because it meant, well, mostly for the economics of it, because it meant I had no transport costs. I was living at my mom's house. I had no rent costs. Oh man, there was nothing. It was just all advantages. So I really enjoyed it. And like not having these rents and transport costs also meant like I was more satisfied with the salary that I was getting. But yeah, we are pre-COVID remote workers. It was very exciting. So we had to I'm very fortunate that all of the companies that I've worked on, they are not these micromanaging, let's see what you're doing, log in, commit every 15 minutes type companies. So it was very flexible. I could literally maybe go offline for like half the day because maybe the power's off. And the bosses were very understanding and welcoming, and they understood the situation, that that's just the dynamic of where we are. But I worked this remote job. It wasn't stressful at all because I was at home, and also like the company was very understanding. I I stayed there for about 2 years as well before I moved to Denmark.
So curiously enough, I've been talking to devs locally who are saying there are not enough opportunities to work abroad or to work remotely in Zim. And I'm hearing other devs saying, no, it's actually possible to work remotely while you're in Zim. So
I don't know.
To bridge that divide, how did you get the job in SA, or what qualifications did you need to put down? I know it's kind of dated information because it's like, 3 years old now.
Oh, in SA. So this job in SA was kind of like through a friend of a friend.
Okay.
So it wasn't on a tabloid or in a newspaper, magazine, or online ad. It was through a friend of a friend. So I wouldn't say this is the right channel to get jobs.
Yeah.
But I have to disagree with this notion that there are not enough remote opportunities for devs.
Because I was talking to another dev who's working in Zim but working for a US company, and he said if Zim could adopt the India model, where India's a part of India's economy, not sure how big it is run on remote developers. Like they set up a system where the income tax is paid through the bank. Like you get your pay from your company, and it splits to your net income, and then the bank takes the government takes their portion.
Yeah.
So if Zimbabwe, because there are a lot of developers in Zimbabwe, and companies say there are no local devs and they outsource, and I'm like, have you been? What Zimbabwe do you live in that you don't see the amount of people who either are doing comp science or have taken up development as a career pivot?
But I have to say, like, I don't think like our online presence is really mature. Like, if I think of one Zimbabwean website where you can headhunt or be headhunted, there's really none. People still just use LinkedIn. But if we're talking about LinkedIn, now you're getting exposure of like devs from all around the world. So it's really hard to like pinpoint a pool where you can headhunt Zimbabwean devs. And now it's a global village, like with these LinkedIns and all these other social platforms. You being a Zimbabwean dev, you're not just competing with other Zimbabwean devs. You're competing with the rest of the world. And maybe these companies having like this exposure to Zimbabwean and non-Zimbabwean devs, maybe they just prefer outsourcing external labor because they just practice harder. Yeah.
I spoke to another company, which I can't mention because some of these things, and they were like, we can't find not competent devs, but consistent devs. So they worked at the company before, and then they flaked on a deal, and they never delivered. And they painted this image like that's what all Zimbabwean developers are like. And I'm like, you just found the wrong one. So I guess it links up with what you said, like you can't headhunt people. I know there are platforms like AfroBlocks now, which you can register as a freelancer and things like that. And you can put your body of work or the code you developed or parts of code or products you developed. And then you can be selected through that. And they've got a really good system of you as the contractor's funds are put into escrow to pay for the freelancer. And once the job is to your satisfaction, then things are then released. And that I think that is one of the platforms in Zim that I think is probably the most progressive. But it doesn't have the usership in terms of developers as widespread or as widespreadly known as it should be. So I can get why people would say there are no developers. But again, it's the traditional model most of these companies have is they still go through HR. You want to travel 9 CV yabo. Wakaita unopoints by grade 7. Wakaita ba O-level nechi. I said JC O-level then A-level. So it's like people don't hire like that anymore. And I guess you're the best example of that. Like
yes, I didn't go through any of this. Like my hiring process was very practical. It's like, oh, so you studied, you went to college. Yes, okay, good. Can you do this coding challenge? Oh, yes, you can. Well, then are you a good cultural fit for the rest of the company? Well, then yes, and then you get the job. So it's not like really, let's see your ZGC, your grade 7, your A-level results, because really none of those matter. I have like tons of people who come from like these tech hubs. Maybe they never went to college, but they went through this tech hub and they gathered the experience that's needed, and they're really fit for this job. And with this very dated way of hiring, it means like these people will never have an opportunity. And I just don't think that makes any sense. You just be like missing out on a lot of potential.
And they say brain drain when they're part of the brain drain problem, because the brains are no longer where you think they are or where they should be. Because now people learn coding off YouTube. I'm literally doing a Cisco course on Python just for shits and giggles, because I'm tired of devs thinking they're superior. You need to equalize it. I want to speak your language. So I'm like, you know, I want to understand. I don't want to code. I want to understand the engineering process.
Yeah.
To better write or to better talk about to people like you about the work that you do. But if a Zoom company then says we want to see your results, like you are literally forcing talented guys like yourselves to go abroad because that's where opportunities are. So it's kind of like you're working against your best interests.
Yeah.
Kind of like Black Republicans, but I'm not gonna get political today.
But I think like the curriculum has changed. Well, it's changed whilst I was away, so I'm not really sure what it is like that. But I think now they're more invested in like the STEM fields. So they're putting a lot more emphasis in like science, tech, and mathematics, and not like when I went to school, it was like we had like a very general education which touched on like everything from, I don't know, economics to English literature to science as well, which didn't emphasize any of these fields. So I can kind of see like the I don't know, whoever is in charge, they're kind of like trying to to set us up for like being a more technological success or power.
But is that value chain not disturbed then by the opportunities lying in companies that can't realize that there is not only one way? You might get someone who's gone through the formal process, but they don't compare to the talent, and because it's different writing code in a sanitary environment like in school, and when the actual company demands, or you're doing it because this is your only lifeline to make a living.
Yeah.
The mentality for me, I think, is different.
It is, yeah.
So if you're not headhunting those guys who are on the bleeding edge in terms of doing it for real practical problems, you're gonna get students you're going to have to teach.
Yes, which is true. I think those qualifications are not a reflection of your work potential. I totally agree with that, especially because like the education system as it is today doesn't really prepare you for the industry or like the corporate environment. So yeah, I am also totally with you on this one. I think the educational qualifications are a good reflection that you're knowledgeable and you're teachable, but I think as far as many fields go, that's just it.
Well, some of the STEM fields do need you to keep it to the book, like medicine. That's probably the one that you should keep it to the book, but most innovation has come from people experimenting.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that mind to venture out, it's going to be difficult for you to be identifiable in the quote unquote real world.
Yeah.
Because who wants to hire someone who can do something that will soon be automated? Like,
yeah, hopefully
you see,
later than sooner.
I was telling a friend of mine who was becoming an accountant, and he said, I'm going to university for accounting, and I'm like, see you in 10 years. We're going to be writing code together, don't worry. So it's all good. I've got you set up.
Yeah.
Good, because most of the stuff is going to be automated, and especially with now how AIs are getting so much better and computers are getting more powerful. Accountants, auditors, actual scientists, yeah. Someone like you is going to be writing that code to be like, yeah, listen, we're selling, you can do your entire operations, entire financial operations automated through this one system.
Yeah.
And that's millions of people out of jobs.
Yeah. That is kind of what we already do. Like the Danish company that I'm working at, that is exactly what we do.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Hope y'all are listening. Y'all are screwed.
Yeah, so we're trying to just automate some of these like financial systems. Like this whole process of like bookkeeping after companies spend, instead of like having actual physical human beings chasing after receipts. Just search your inbox for that receipt and then attach it. Just do some image recognition. Why do you need a human being doing that? So, yeah, I do believe that.
This is a sore spot for me. I hate doing financial recording.
Yeah.
I think it's asinine.
Yeah.
I think it's really asinine. It's important, I get it, but I hate.
It saves a lot of time.
Yeah, and if it's automated, I'm like, that is one less person to hire.
Yeah. Or one less accountant to hire, but maybe one more developer to hire. Yeah.
I like that kind of thing. So what's the company called?
So the company is called Pleo. So it's a financial services company. In English, it's like a spending platform.
Okay.
So we have we offer corporate debit cards, credit coming soon, but just debit cards for now. But then we also like offer automated forms of payment like direct debit. We have a bills feature, which you can just set up and then it automatically starts paying your bills as they come in. We also offer like spending out of pocket. So a lot of the times, and in other economies such as Zimbabwe and Germany, uh, like the financial system is really cash based. So we also offer like having you being able to use cash and then maybe paying out of pocket, and then we find ways to like record keep it electronically.
But how do you convert then cash to electronic?
So you basically just enter a record into the app which says I spent this much on such and such a thing,
Okay.
and here's the receipt, and then you get reimbursed into your bank account automatically.
Okay.
So instead of like having to wait for the end of the month to get
Oh,
your
okay.
reimbursement,
Okay.
like as soon as you enter that record and then you show the receipt for mostly for tax reasons, because some products are taxable, some are not, some have tax returns. Like as soon as we get this information, we reimburse the money immediately.
So how does it work with stuff like tax incentives and tax credits and stuff like that? Is that all pre-calculated and then?
No. So for like tax returns, you need to know what products were purchased. So that is the reason why we need to see a receipt.
Okay.
Because some products will have tax returns, some will not. So it's difficult if you don't know. So like from the merchant, once you use your card at a merchant, we'll be able to tell that you spent $10 at OK Marimba wine.
Okay.
But we still need to know what did you buy so that we can see which products have tax returns on them. And then once you upload the receipt, then we just like run through it. We try to like scan through the line items and see which ones we can the company can get tax returns on.
Okay. Right. Interesting. Very interesting. So you've been working on this for how long?
So I've been working with this company for 2 years now.
So Denmark is quite recent.
Yes, it's only 2 years old.
Wow.
Yes, it's only 2 years old.
Wow. How do you go from a pre-COVID remote worker to going to Denmark in the space of, let's say, 4 years?
Oh man, it wasn't easy. I mean, I just knew, like when I was working for Africa. So when I left Telco, it was because I needed a mentor. And then when I left the other company, it was because I was in dire need of like some international exposure. So I was tired because I feel like I was a bit more progressive myself. Like I would get onto like these technology trends as soon as they came out. So stuff like Nest.js or stuff like Gatsby. And I knew not a single place where I could use this in Zimbabwe. I was doing Django at the time, and I didn't know a single. Well, I knew a few, but there were very little companies which were doing web development in Python. It was always just like .NET or PHP, and I was just really tired of like, I can see that these are the new trends, but we're not really adopting them. We're still using like, apologies to all the PHP fanboys out there, but this is really dated technology.
Yes, I can't wait for the comments on this one.
Yeah. So we're really using this technology, and I just felt like this is kind of like a bit dated now. We should move on to. I just really want to put this new frameworks and new foundations to practice. So I was in like dire need of like international exposure. So I had like no links. I didn't know anyone, but I just went on to what's the site called? Glassdoor. And that's when I just started like browsing through job ads. Just reading the ones that I think I'm suitable, the ones which offer remote work or offer relocation assistance, and I'll just like send my CV through. And because it was so straightforward, so formal, no advantages, it took me a while. Maybe it took me probably 2 months and like 10 interviews, a lot of rejections to finally land a role. So it wasn't all just roses, it was thorns also, because I went through like a lot of rejection. Like I was interviewing probably every week, and then you would go through like 5 steps of this interview process. Maybe you'd get like a coding challenge. So I spent a lot of time interviewing and like doing these coding challenges, and each one just made me better for the next one. Each coding challenge that I took just made me more prepared for the next one, until I finally landed one.
Yeah, sounds like dating in a similar process. Challenge after challenge, interview, rejection.
Yeah.
So you then landed on
Pleo,
Pleo, and
that I'm working
you
at.
then how did they transition? They said relocate or you work remotely first and then.
So I was working, like I said, I was working remotely for the last 2 years at the point. So I was also tired of like my home being my office. I was already tired. Like when you got tired of lockdown, I was already tired.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah, so I was already tired of like just being stuck in like one environment for like this long. So I really, really wanted to just like go back to an office with colleagues, and also the prospect of like moving to a new country. It's Euro progressive. Yeah, who doesn't want that? And then I just like hopped at it. They were giving relocation assistance.
So relocation assistance is plane ticket,
first month rent, visa assistance, plane ticket, and the first month of rent.
That is a deal, man. Like first month rent is the scariest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Like because if you get that, so at least you have a roof over your head.
Yeah.
That's one thing down. Food is a second to shelter.
Yeah. And then with food, I had to like make do with $60.
In a country where prices, and context is the country's prices are much higher, regardless of where you go. Zim is probably cheaper in some respects with food, because in Europe food is seasonal, like especially fresh food, it's seasonal. So the bang for your buck, at least in my experience, is getting noodles and things that are heavily processed.
Yeah, Europe is generally more expensive. Like the higher the GDP, then generally the more spending power people have, the more expensive products are. But if it's like highly trafficable items like tech, like phones, laptops, they generally around the same price.
But they've got their financial systems actually work, so you can do stuff on contract and labor and things like that.
Yes.
Not in the same way they like pay 75%, they're giving you 60 days to pay 30%, which is.
Yeah. So you can also run on debt. So.
But debt there is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, as long as you can service it, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's only kind of like a mentality that we have, that if you're in debt, then you owe someone, so therefore, you're screwed. You need to credit.
Yeah. But debt can be an asset.
Yeah, it can actually bring your credit score up, which allows you to get more debt, which allows you to make bigger purchases or bigger investments, which allows you to generate more money. So you need debt. Like financial systems run on debt.
Because you need to prove to the financial institution that you can pay.
Yeah.
When you can meet your debt, regardless of how big it is, if you meet your payments, they know, oh, this guy can return and he does, his schedule's really good. Yeah. So when you ask for $1 million, so I've been seeing this stuff on mainly on guys doing real estate. Most of their projects out there, here at Impossible, out there, people are getting debt, leveraging the property they own now. So they'll basically mortgage off a property, get renters, or fix it up, get renters, and then start getting inflows of money, and then go to the bank and be like, yeah, I've paid back my loan for that, and now I'm going to start using. I'm going to use the property I bought as security for another loan. And it's a cascade effect. So trying to tell Zimbabweans that debt is not a problem. Like, as long as you can like meet it, it's not necessarily an issue.
But I guess like our financial situation is like highly volatile. It's hard to give debt.
It's not volatile. It's just it's shackled. Like we don't have a credit score system, right? So people don't know whether you're viable enough. We've got financial systems like mobile money, which are really good for everybody. The problem is that the government never leveraged those systems to be a credit scoring system. So we had a Twitter space last year, and this dude actually very smartly said, why did the government never use transaction flows on EcoCash or whatever as a credit scoring system or as a benchmark for certain volumes of credit? Because we don't have.
Yeah, but look, like today people are easily transferring like tens of thousands of dollars on EcoCash. Which was.
But if you put in USD value, it's not a lot of money. It's like what, $100?
I know, but like if we used this, nominal figure as your credit score, like how much volume?
It's not necessarily the volume that.
But look, should we run our financial system based off another currency?
That's a good debate, and I'll give this 10-minute segue. No, we shouldn't. Okay. No, we shouldn't. Yeah. Like, we should run off our own currency, but is it viable to do so? No.
And then I just think the market is not ready then.
I think it's ready. I think it's the way you can look at it. So lending is possible to certain demographics. So the guys who have an ease of access to it. Now, I know that sounds very exclusionary. I sound like a capitalist, but hear me out here. If you can start the process, so most companies I've seen, any sort of innovation, does not start as a mass market product.
Mhm.
Very few do start as a mass market product because it's either for enthusiasts or people rich enough to actually indulge.
Yeah.
When it comes downwind, we can then get stuff like Netflix because they're like, yeah, no, it's now quote unquote affordable. But stuff
Yeah.
like DSTV, remember back in the day, DSTV, if you had DSTV at your house back in the 90s, you are something else. You
Yeah.
were rich enough to afford it. But now it's commonplace because they went where the money was and then it just filtered down. So again, it's the same system. Start people who can actually afford it. Create a system based on people you can back or who can like give back, and then start crafting ways of which you can then put it to the informal sector, for example, which is what 90% of Zimbabwe's economy.
Yeah. It sounds great if it works, but this also
It won't work. No, this is just me talking out my ass. It will not work. It's just
this. Yeah, I can easily see how this will become like a top 1% advantage, where like the top 1% are the only
They
ones
already have the advantage though.
who have access to credit, and therefore like the income gap goes like the gap between the richest and the poorest keeps growing, and then it becomes like India, where you have a mansion here, and then you have someone living in a tin shed like right next
South
door.
Africa is the same thing. Isn't
South
Sandton
Africa.
back to back with Alexandria? So
Yeah.
it's like it's there already. I mean, why not use that the broken system to try and make something that actually works?
I don't know. I'm not in economics. I don't know. It could work.
I don't think it can. I don't think they will think about it long enough to make it work, because of every bank I've spoken to, they are very credit shy, even with people with the money. It's necessarily a I know you, you know me kind of situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no to our yes to our currency, but if we use the US dollar, we're literally running off United States' local policies.
Yes.
They're not our own.
Yeah, they're not our
So
own.
we don't have much control.
And we don't have control of this currency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it fluctuates, we're screwed either way.
Yeah.
And externalization will always be a thing because people will come to Zim just to draw money out, not necessarily to.
That already
invest.
happened.
Yeah, I've heard some weird stories. Some weird stories. Okay, segue over.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Denmark, you got the relocation assistance.
Mhm.
They're $60.
Yeah.
And then, how long did $60 last you?
The whole month?
You made it last a month.
I made it work. Yeah, I made it work. By being extremely frugal, which I'm a son of the soil, I know how to do that.
No, doesn't make sense. It's not adding up. Not adding up.
But seriously, I did make it work. So I think I was having lunch at the office, and then I would have like frozen noodles when I came back home every day for like what, 20 days. Can't keep that. I could easily keep that up.
That'll change you as a person, man.
Man.
Like that will really change you as a person.
I'm used to much worse.
Nah.
Yeah.
Now, noodles, listen, facing sadza as your only meal for the day, I can face that.
But the noodles were pretty nice. I mean, I would like switch it up. Sometimes eat mayonnaise, sometimes eat ketchup.
Can you hear yourself?
I made it work. So
And how was the work culture adjustment? Like after working for a Zimbabwean company that is progressive, I have my views on that, but we'll do that off camera because I don't want to make enemies just yet.
Yeah.
To South Africa, and then what was the adjustment to like working in European work culture?
Yeah. So I think like the biggest noticeable difference was like the hierarchy is much flatter. So there is still like a hierarchy for like structure's sake, but it's not like take your hat off when you walks in the room.
Yeah.
You know, like here it's a lot more emphasized on respect, and just like downright just fearing someone because he has a bigger position than you. But then the hierarchy was like much flatter. We would have like social events even with like your direct manager or with the CEO himself. So our CEO, he did this thing, like every new joiner he would like book himself some time to just have a chat with us, like a very very casual chat, to just like get to know who he is and also him to get to know who you are. And it also just it just gives a sense of like belonging to the workplace. And I think like once you feel like you're part of a workplace, it also kind of like encourages you to put in harder work and just be more productive. So yeah, so this thing of like the work environment having like a much flatter hierarchy and not necessarily being afraid to reach out to your senior or to your manager was kind of like the biggest culture shock to me, because I just wasn't coming from a place which was like that. But I could see like how progressive it was having this kind of like dynamic in the workplace.
Mm.
Because like immediately, even though I was like so foreign, I mean the cars are on the other side of the road. The plugs don't even work the way I'm used to them working. Even though everything was like so foreign and so strange to me, like I just felt like a sense of belonging just for this very simple fact. And also like the workplace is heavily based on trust. Um, so right now I'm working remotely, but I don't have the mental load or the mental pressure of like having to commit code every 30 minutes, or else maybe you had left your desk or something.
Mm.
Even if you did leave your desk, but because you feel trusted, you would put in, you may or you may not, but you would want to still deliver. And maybe you might want to put those extra hours even after hours.
Just basically allowing you to manage your own time.
Yeah, it really gives you the autonomy to work how you want, but also like feeling like you're a part of this organization just makes you want to be more engaged and like more efficient. And I think for me personally, I saw this working a lot better than the work dynamic that we have here, that you're supposed to clock in at 8, clock out at 5, or else we're gonna cut your salary off. It just turned you into this like machine, like in the production line, where you really don't even care about the production line. You're just there because you're trying to earn a living, but you don't resonate with the vision of the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you work on local projects? I was told one that you worked on, which is of a really interesting variety, because we covered it 4 or 5 times previously. Wa-Faya. Yeah.
Okay, so before Wa-Faya, I did work on, I don't know if you know open access. Okay, so Telco has like a web,
the free internet thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so their web, what's it called? Their
web portal.
captive portal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was the first project that I did, which went to the public, but okay, that was not me. That was Telco.
Okay.
Like everything that I write is still owned by the company. You know how it goes.
Okay. So Telco, well, that portal and Wa-Faya are the 2 local projects you worked on.
Yes. So Wa-Faya is the most recent one.
Did they find you, or did you find them?
They found me.
How?
So Telco, we was really good friends with my boss at the time.
Okay.
And he happened to be friends with the CEO and founder of Wa-Faya. So he had
No, but you said last time that a friend of a friend got you the work in South Africa. Now
Yes.
a friend you're really good friends with knows the CEO of Wa-Faya, then found you.
Yes.
So for me, in my head, it's telling me that the exclusion of every other business that wants to hire a really good developer is, as long as you know the person who knows a really good developer.
No,
you're gonna get a
that
really
is
good
not
developer.
true. No, that is not true. I believe in like equal opportunity.
Yeah,
You don't.
You live in Denmark, man. Like Zimbabwe, there's no such as equal opportunity. Each man for himself. God Russell.
No, that is not. I believe in equal opportunity. I believe like you don't really need to know a person. If we ran on nepotism, this would just be this would just turn into a dynasty. No.
I mean,
No.
you know, okay. So how did Wa-Faya approach you to be like, this is what we want? Because we use the app, but we're not sure where the thought process was from the engineering side.
Yes. So when I joined, Wa-Faya kind of already existed, but the thing you mentioned before, that the CEO had contracted like some Asian developers, Indian, Pakistani,
About stories.
Yeah. And then I think the communication wasn't that great, so he wasn't very happy with like where the product was at. So I took a look at it. It wasn't great. It had like a lot of boilerplate, a lot of like dead code just not doing anything. So then it was really up to me. So for a while I tried to like run with it to just like fix what is already there, try to remove all this boilerplate, all this dead code which is not doing anything, try to clean it up, trying to update all the packages, bring everything up to date, until I reached a point where I was just like, this is a lot more work than just like building this thing afresh. So I communicated with the founder and I told him like, look, this is the state of the project. If you allow me like creative freedom, I'm gonna start this thing over. I will continue using some of the packages that are already there, so that I don't necessarily have to like reinvent everything.
So you're doing this in your own personal capacity?
Yes.
Go on.
Yes. Yes. But then I also had like, at this point in time, I already had like 5-6 years of experience. So I was in a position where I'm able to like make sensible, scalable decisions, because I know like this is going to be like a public facing product. I want it to be able to scale to like millions of people. I don't want like after 1,000 people to hear that, oh no, the server's overloaded, so now we're getting 500 errors. So I still was able to like make decisions to just make it scalable, so that it's reachable by many customers. So I did continue using the same framework which was being used, Laravel. So PHP fanboys, I don't hate you.
Right.
So I continued using Laravel, but I updated everything to like the latest versions, and also started making like a lot of. So I think if you look at the like what it is today, Wa-Faya versus what it's been say 3 months ago, we kind of like keep adding features. I saw that you covered one article that there was this issue of like parasitic change, which would always be left, like that 50 cents which stayed on a voucher, and then you can't use it because there's nothing which costs 50 cents.
Yeah.
So this was something that we were already thinking about, but we were just like trying to find out what's a good way to handle this thing, because some of these things are like edge cases which you don't really think about in during development, or like during scoping or planning.
By the way, we want our 10% for the unsolicited help in getting you a better product.
No, this, like I said, this was something that we were already thinking about.
But we wrote about it, so we're part of this process.
Okay.
I'm joking.
Yeah. So like the development process was like really iterative, like getting feedback from people, like just listening to what people are saying, like, okay, so there's some change that you can't use. Okay, people from South Africa are failing to use their credit cards because of like different authentication systems. Okay, how do we keep fixing this product and make it more suitable and more reachable to more customers? So these are things which come as the product grows and matures, and we just like keep iterating and make it better. And I think like if you look at like maybe 3 months ago, like the very first version of Wa-Faya, when it launched, you could only use your credit card. There was no Google Pay, Apple Pay, there was no PayPal. It was only credit cards. There was this change issue. You couldn't split vouchers or share them, and it was just and also like a ton of bug fixes also which came during the process.
So how did you balance this and your work?
Oh yeah, so I made it very clear so I wanted to be transparent, also to like manage expectations. So I made it very clear to like the founder of Wa-Faya, like, I have a full-time job, I'm working 9 to 5. I will only be able to work on this from my after hours or the weekend, if I'm not too tired and if I just don't have anything else that I want to do. So like just being able to communicate with the stakeholder. I've seen like a lot of developers overpromise, and they say they can get something done in a week when it's really like a month's worth of work. And then maybe that's where this general notion about Zimbabwean developers just don't deliver could come from. But I try to like make it very clear that this is the amount of time that I can work. I could give you tentative deadlines, but don't take this as gospel. It may not work. It may not pan out. And it really helped to like manage expectations on his side as well, and also for me to not feel like I'm shortchanging or like I'm not delivering on like non-realistic timelines.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long did the entire project take to get from where you got it, from the version you got up until the one we see, let's say 3 months ago, the first version that we saw
the one which launched? So that one took me, because I was the only developer working on it, that one took me, I think, about 4 months.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it took me about 4 months, but it was. So we tested it a lot because we knew this was going to be a public-facing project. And I think the last month of those 4 was just like testing. We have like environments which are not the one that you see when you visit the website. So you have like different environments. So we just like try and like stress test this system, try to like penetration test it, try to hack it ourselves, try to hire people to hack it, just to find some loophole which people can exploit to to get a free voucher, because it's essentially generating value out of thin air if a loophole like this existed. So like I think that the whole 1 month of those last 4 was just like trying to really, really stress test and break the system and just like find something which could let a hacker through.
So is this more from your end, or it was from the Wa-Faya side that they wanted to test it properly?
It was more like me being the developer, and I knew like the extent and the potency of the system. I knew that if there was ever a bug which was like this, you've essentially given people away. You've essentially given people like a money printing machine. So there was no way I was having that, and so they wanted to launch it earlier, but I was like would keep telling them that no, I'm not ready. We need to test it some more. I want to see traffic on this thing. I want to see stress on the system. I want to make sure like there's no road which has been left untrodden.
Okay. But were they patient in that entire process, that you wanted to basically kill it or try to kill it before it went public?
Yes, they were very understanding, because they also like, so when you're working, like you might have these concerns as a developer. Maybe you want to, I don't know, write a unit test or write an end-to-end test, but the client, the stakeholder doesn't know that. He just sees, well, the system is working, why not just launch it now? But you know the vulnerabilities, so it's really up to you to like communicate these concerns to the stakeholder. Tell it to them in English or in a language that they understand, so that they see that okay, there is value in the work that you're doing.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I'm just surprised, because some companies are not the most patient in the world. Like, as long as it's working, like to a degree, let's launch it and then fix it while it's out there. Of which this is difficult. So the whole money printing thing, did you tell them about this, or they knew that they were literally just making money from nothing?
No, I told them this. Like if such a bug would have existed, then it would essentially be like a money printing machine.
Did they know that was a potential?
Yes.
Okay, great. Because now I was getting scared because they didn't know. Because yeah.
Yes, they knew, and that is the reason for like not launching it as early as it could.
Okay.
It was never a bug, but I just wanted to make
sure.
Yeah,
I'm saying in the event that it did arise, you wanted to cover your tracks.
I wanted to make sure that there's no chance of it arising.
I mean, if you do have a back end to that, just give me a look.
No, I don't even do it myself. Because I mean, we also like have like extensive reports and records. Like every single thing that you do in the system is documented.
So there's no way you can fudge it.
No. It'll have to be like a conglomerate. Like you'd have to be like a what's it called? Like a party of criminals to fight. Like you all need to be in agreement to like, yeah, let's fight it.
Okay.
Of which, yeah, I think like having more security points like that just makes it like more secure, so that like no single person has like the power to like tamper with the records. Did it also
go through RBZ approval, or that was really pre-done before?
No, so we are not a remittance service, so we don't need like remittance licenses. Yes, we don't
say it how you like, but it is what it is.
Yes. So technically we're not a remittance service. Like you can't redeem cash with the Wa-Faya voucher. So you can only redeem products and services, but not cash. It's just a voucher, so that is the only product. It's like selling clothes. It's just another product, except this product carries value at certain outlets.
So are the vouchers not transferable from one person to the next?
Yes, but also no, we kind of switched off that feature for now.
Because I was about to say Zimbabweans will just start using that. For example, Inbox. Somebody says Inbox. You can technically buy stuff with Inbox, because it's technically a remittance service that you can actually pull money out.
Yes.
So there's online stores are now saying you accept cash, USD,
or Inbox,
prepaid, and then Inbox.
Yeah. Yeah. If you start handling like actual cash, then you need licensing.
But as for now, there's everything's above board.
Yes.
When you hesitate, it just makes me think there's a bug.
No, there's no bug. It's because I'm like running through all possible scenarios, and I don't want to like blurt out yes. I'm just like checking Okay, yeah.
It's very honest though. Because most days we're like, yes, and thinking they had crap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's absolutely no way to, I don't know, give it a
We
shot.
shall try.
Give it a
We
shot.
So in terms of Wa-Faya, is that the only Zim project you've worked or most recently worked on, or the other stuff that you're kind of playing around with?
So lately, that's the only project that I've worked on. I did do another project, which this was like way back in the day, which never took off. So I have my fair share of failures as well.
Who doesn't?
And we all do.
But it's like bouncing
It's
back
like
from
dating
this.
in Harare, you said.
Exactly. But the bounce back is weird because so I watch a lot of NFL, which is very, very unhealthy. But I've noticed the most successful quarterbacks are the ones with a very short memory. So if you can make a mistake and be willing to make it or be willing to try something similar again with the only vision being success or the possible, or you're setting yourself up to be the most successful as you can be in that one single 3 seconds it takes to do that play, that separates the really good from the really bad. So for you, what was, because for me, I have a very long memory. I catalog my failures extensively. I will diarize them when I get older. But for you, do you have that time to think about, oh, I messed up here, or?
Yeah, certainly. I think you'd be a fool to not learn from your failures.
Oh, you can learn from them. I'm saying, do you dwell on them as extensively as like someone like me does?
I mean, I don't dwell on them, but I do learn stuff from them. Like I said, I interviewed a lot, and every single failure just set me up for the next one to be better. Like another person could have been like, "Oh, I failed. I'm just gonna give up and not try." But it did take a lot of resilience and also like learning from those failures to just like keep going at it. Yeah. I think if you didn't learn, like, I mean, we all fail. I don't know a single person who's just like made it to the top.
Elon Musk.
Okay, I don't know his life story. Can agree, can disagree.
Elon Musk.
Okay.
So in terms of like local developers in Zim who might be looking at this as I have no opportunity to, or they don't know that these routes exist for you to actually start a life living in a normal country, quote unquote, what advice would you give, or what platforms would you say they should look into to be like, if everything's in order and you've got X amount of experience, try this avenue or that avenue?
Okay. So I think, I mean, I still have this country that I wouldn't, like, I know everybody has like a personal interest. Everyone just wants to make it for themselves. And obviously the goal would be to escape because the industry here is just not that advanced. But I do feel like there's a lot of opportunity and room here, and it's really up to the Zimbabwean devs to like harness this opportunity. I wouldn't want to encourage people to say like, okay, leaving is the only route to success. I think it would be better to just like stay here and try to fix the situations that we have here. Like in Zimbabwe, there's loads and loads of opportunity, like loads and loads of problems which can be solved by technology. But I think maybe the focus is this, like we all just want to go to school, pass study, and find a job outside the country. And maybe like this is why I've seen a few people trying to solve the problem that we face here. But I still feel like there's not enough effort and attention which has been put, or just like brain power which has just been put into like solving these things. Even something so trivial as like a food delivery service. We only have one, which is daily delivery, and just because
a bunch now.
What else?
Daily delivery. What's that one called?
Doesn't
Eats. Munch. Logi Eats. Something.
A couple of people are trying it.
They're trying it, but it's not to this. If you say one, daily delivery scale is much bigger than everybody else's because they can handle larger volumes than everybody else can, because of the proximity they have to the more stable brands, and also the money investment that they get. The smaller guys can do it, but it's not to a point that they can, because the code part of it is one problem. The logistics aspect is something else.
The logistics are like,
so it's like, sorry.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Like the code is not the only factor. There's also you do need investment for getting like physical items such as the delivery vehicles. But I still do feel like there are quite a lot of problems which can be solved by technology, and technology is like a relatively low barrier of entry in terms of costs, because you can literally rent a server for like $2.99 a month, which is
for example, that's a lot of money.
no, that's less than you use for your airtime in a month. How much you use for it?
$2.99 USD.
How much you use for it on airtime?
I don't know. I don't count anymore.
Yeah, it's really less than
Or $2.99 USD or local currency.
USD.
Dude, that's someone's pay, dude.
That's
That's someone's pay.
No, but I think I do get the context in that it would be cheaper to use tech than to start a business.
Start a business, yeah.
I think so.
yeah.
But I'm saying for someone who's a sole trader, or let's just say for the individual, the steps are much steeper, because looking at it from a
No, even if you're a sole trader, I'll give an example of I was watching this other interview yesterday of a guy who made a website which just connects producers to artists. That's all it does. You don't need any. This is literally just software that you need. You rent your server for $2.99. That is about the only end time, but those are about the only investments that you need. You don't need to buy like any physical items. So that's why I say like there's a really low barrier of entry when it comes to tech. Like you can get a lot done without like needing tons and tons of investment. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm still tagged on the $2.99 thing, but I get what you mean. Like the infrastructure is already there. As long as you can identify a problem, and you've got someone who can build it for you, the solutions are there to bolster up whatever you're doing. It's just the cost to run it. If you juxtapose that to starting an actual business or starting to build stuff from zero.
Yeah, if you want to build like an actual manufacturing business, then
you got a problem.
You will need investment.
Yeah, investment. But I don't think most people don't see it from that lens though. Like the technology source solutions, because for example, you still go to some government buildings. I'm not singling out the government because most government buildings are like this, where everything is still pretty much manual when there are automated systems that are available to do certain things.
Exactly. Where are all the developers? Where's everybody?
Yeah.
Everybody's just like focused on like, okay, if I get a good grades and a good qualification, I'm gonna leave and work for this European company. But then there's all these opportunities which are just here, which are just like waiting to be tapped into.
But again, is that whole? Are they receptive to technology taking over those aspects? Because we've had the cryptocurrency debate internally for a really long time. Like the narrative before I arrived at Texan was it's a solution looking for a problem. But the problems crypto solves are innumerable now since 2017 to now. Like you can solve quite a bit with just the blockchain. Some of Zimbabwe's problems could be solved quite nicely with the blockchain.
I mean, but crypto.
But they're not receptive to not at least testing it out. I'm not looking at like wide adoption, but just to test it out, to be like, okay, we're creating a system where it's going to be internal, it's not external. We're going to get X number of vendors, public traded companies, private and startups. Let's bring them together and see what we can do with this.
I think like any government has been kind of resistive towards adopting crypto.
But the adoption, yes. Testing, no. They've done their tests. Like most governments have actually tried it out. Nigeria is the best example in Africa. They've launched their own central bank digital currency. I think it's probably one of the first in Africa.
Yeah, but then.
But at least they're trying, quote unquote.
Well, good for them. Good for them. But we're not there yet. We don't even have like a centralized health system. We still write prescriptions on paper.
I mean, with the way Zimbabwean systems are built, I think writing prescriptions on paper is a good thing.
Why is it a good thing?
Because the forgeries. We've got an endemic drug crisis in the country.
Okay, authentication has been solved before.
But have you seen a doctor's handwriting? It's practically chicken scratch. You can try. I mean, you can really try and match. Like if you're motivated enough, you can.
And that is exactly why you shouldn't write prescriptions on paper.
True, but in Zim, like certain pharmacies now know. So like in your area block. So for example, 5 Avenue.
Yeah.
Dr. Rinyo's handwriting is synonymous. They can just look at it once and just know what it is.
Okay, how about having 128-bit encryption on your
and then putting it on every single system. Now you now have to bring in, like I said, on testing. The government won't want to test because it costs money and time. Both they don't really have in terms of.
Well, I can't really speak on why the government is not receptive towards it, or even confirm that they aren't receptive towards it. But I just see like this as a huge potential that could be tapped into if the stars aligned.
But why do the stars need to align for the government to try something out? Like, I'm not saying that they don't want to do it. They might be doing it on one level or another. But I'm saying the pace at which certain these things need done. So why I say blockchain is because tax is a big problem in Zim. So an example is VAT. VAT fraud is difficult to do, but it's doable. Like, I'm not saying I know how to do it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
2% tax, for example, the intermediary money transfer tax. There were banks that were asking customers to pay 6 months worth of that tax because there wasn't a way to automate that system straight out. So I'm like, the blockchain kind of solves that because everything can be done at the point of transaction. I mean, you don't adopt the entire blockchain in crypto. You can get a system that works as near as makes no difference.
Yeah.
To that and try it out.
How about we just say like like an electronic finance system and not say blockchain? Because
you think it's the wording?
Yeah, not blockchain.
Okay, yeah, that you could be honest.
Yeah, because blockchain, especially like since you mentioned Bitcoin, I don't know if Bitcoin would be ideal because it's a universal currency and we don't govern it, and we need a way to govern it.
We're already using the USD that we don't govern. So this is like, why not just lean into the mistakes?
No.
Just lean into it because it makes sense on all levels, to be honest. Like, we already use the USD, Rand in Bulawayo. You can buy stuff with Rands. So we already use currencies we don't control. So just throw crypto in there, see what happens.
Yeah, probably not good things. People will lose a lot of money and then they will blame it on whatever financial institution is providing the service.
But if you remember back in like 2009, when the 2010 or whatever, when the multi-currency system started, people lost money because they didn't understand what an exchange rate or the exchange rate was in like what it was like day to day.
Yeah.
But people caught up.
Yeah, but then we should learn from that then.
Yeah, let's start putting billboards on how Bitcoin and crypto works.
Why Bitcoin?
Why? I'm just no.
Why not a stable coin? Why not like USDT? Why?
No, you can't do like the RBZ can do its own central bank digital currency. Like I'll be good with that. Like I'll be fine with that.
But you just want like a financial system running on a blockchain.
Not all of it, parts of it. So we can't like devote all of it to blockchain, but parts of it can surely.
Interesting. I don't know. Interesting. I think there's probably some financial regulations that go into this that I'm just not aware of.
I'm not sure. The only one I know is that you can't trade with traditional financial systems. You can't blockchain or crypto startups can't trade or transact with them. But as you running by yourself,
I mean, then it means like if it's a blockchain, then it means it would need a network.
I know 6 or 7 guys.
You know 6 or 7 guys
6 or 7
that are gonna be your new RBZ.
Yeah, they can try. They can try this out. By the way, RBZ, I'm just joking. Because I know people knocking on my door at 1 a.m. I'm just joking.
Yes, to come and pick you up.
Yeah. Man, thank you very much for your time. This was really eye-opening.
I really enjoyed being here. This was very exciting.
Very few people say that. You're one of the few to say that.
I was smiling the whole time. Yeah.
So yeah. Well, I guess how long are you in Zim for? Can you say first of all?
Can I say yes until the beginning of March? So until the end of February. Why? Because I like it here. I'm a son of the soil. What are you talking about? I like it here.
Cool. Hey, no cons here.
Yeah, I like it. I genuinely do like it here.
Cool. So I think we can probably get some more devs, and then do this again.
Yes, it would be interesting to like have several opinions and spar. And yeah.
I hope a fight breaks out.
No, just don't bring PHP guys.
I'm bringing them all. I'm just recommending those guys only.
Yeah.
Alright, thanks everyone for watching, listening. We'll catch you again next time.